It's the economy cooked. Y'all know the vibe, man. It's your boy Darian DWaugh, co-creator of Think and Gen Wealth, co-owner of Think and Gen Wealth. And yo, today was a day for Bomber Club. Let me tell you. Alright, so boom, today we're gonna go over February 20th, all the madness that happened today. There be the PCE report coming out, seeing what the details are within that, the GDP report that came out and figure out why it was so bad. And also we're gonna navigate a bit of what we know when it comes to the tariff news and the Supreme Court shooting down the tariffs, but now Trump enacting the tariffs back again. Yo, I swear to God, the stock market is great, bro. This is reality TV for the realest of the real, you heard? I'm rocking with this. This is pure drama. We gonna get straight into it, you heard? Let me share my screen, bro. Yo, it's crazy, yo. Alright, so boom, yo. So boom. First of all, GDP report. As y'all can see right here, GDP report for quarter 4 came out. The previous was 4.4% in Q3. The street was expecting 2.8%, a little bit of a pullback due to the government shutdown, the longest government shutdown that's ever happened back in October. Instead, we got 1.4%. All right? Now, is this a big deal? Yes and no at the same time. All right? Because the GDP report for this, the reason it's so negative is mostly due to the government shutdown that happened in October. For right now, what we can see, man, the overall spending that crashed about 16.6% when it comes to federal spending. You feel me? So from Q4, and Q4 specifically, from Q3 to Q4, overall federal spending crashed 16.6%. Defense spending dropped 10.8%. And all of that right there adds up to 1.15 percentage points for the final GDP growth. You feel me? So that's a massive amount of spending that was just cut off simply because the federal government was shut down for a long period of time. You feel me? So that's why I personally think it's not that big of a deal, and the market kind of already priced in that we was going to have a negative GDP growth just due to the government shutdown being so long. But the main thing that concerns me is one thing, right? The government may shut down again. We're already in discussions of the government already doing another shutdown, which is preposterous. I don't know why they can't figure out what the hell's going on up there. And second of all, we didn't really talk about consumer spending, okay? Consumer spending in quarter 3 came out to 3.5%. In quarter 4, it came out to 2.4%, right? That's a drastic decline. And think about the timing right here. Q4 represents October, November, and December. All that happens during those months is pure Black Friday shopping, getting ready for Christmas, the whole 9 yards. And you're telling me consumer spending dipped? That's a little concerning in my end because it's talking about how the consumer is doing. You feel me? And remember, 70% of GDP is consumer spending, right? So seeing this drastic dip in consumer spending in Q4, when consumer spending in reality is supposed to be up, is concerning to me. All right? Now, we have been having, a quarterly reports, weekly reports that come out with the Red Book, retail sales, things like that. And those have been strong historically up in 2026. So we got to keep a close eye on this, what I'm really trying to say. That's the most concerning thing with the GDP report. But as far as the government spending and the GDP report being down so much, I don't think that's big of a deal because the big reason it is down is because of the government shutdown that occurred in the past. Okay? So GDP, not really. Oh, God. Not really too concerned about it. Now, PCE. All right? For y'all that don't know, the PCE report came out. The PCE report stands for Personal Consumption Expenditure. And this is the main inflation gauge for the Feds. All right? So when the Feds look at this, this is what's telling them if they're going to cut rates or if they're going to hike rates, if you're going to keep rates the same. Okay? The Fed minutes coming out the other day, and all the Feds kind of being in disarray, split up between the middle. Some of them want to do hike rate. Some of them want to increase rates. Some of them want to cut rates. Some of them want to keep rates the same. So they're very indecisive. But with this report here, I think this is the most concerning out of all the reports. Because PCE ticked up. And it's a little weird because I still firmly believe that this AI narrative is going to be very deflationary. And we're still seeing that with Trueflation. If I pull up Trueflation right now, all I'll share my screen with you. But remember, trueflation is technically 60 days ahead of PCE or CPI. So right now, trueflation, let's look up PCE. Right now, PCE on trueflation is at 1.55%. Okay? And we got 3.0% year over year, core PCE. So there's a big discrepancy there, right? I still firmly believe that PCE is going to come down. But what we have to face is that the reality is the feds aren't looking at trueflation. All right, they're looking at core PCE and PCE and the data that they get that's super freaking delayed. Okay? So that's why I think for the next rate cuts isn't happening. I still firmly believe we will get rate cuts throughout this year because PCE has to catch up eventually with trueflation, and that's going to show down the line when these PCE reports come out a little lower than expected. But this was a little concerning. I ain't gonna lie, because now the conversation of rate hikes could be real. You feel what I'm saying? Now, personally, do I think that's gonna happen? No. But it becomes like a real conversation now with PCE increasing because the feds have always been a stickler on inflation. Right? We shall see on this one. I know the next FOMC meeting, I believe, is in about 26 days or so. So we're going to see on that one as more data comes throughout the weeks. But this was the most shocking thing in my opinion. Because trueflation is telling a totally different story. Totally different story. Trueflation PCE right now is at 1.55%. That's deflation. Okay? So like I said, I think it's going to catch up. It's just going to take time. Because obviously this data is very delayed. Right? That's really everything that came out today. We had PMI as well. PMI came out under the water, but to be honest, PMI is important to make sure it's above 50. Above 50 is growth. Below 50 is contraction. You feel me? So I'm not really too worried about PMI. The Michigan consumer sentiment came out today. That was a miss as well. That speaks to what I was speaking about earlier when it comes to retail sales. How is the consumer actually doing? Consumer sentiment is not doing as good as we thought. Yeah, y'all. Overall, it was a wild day for data. On top of that, 10 a.m. today, Supreme Court announces that Trump tariffs is finito. You word, they done up. They out of there. They claimed them illegal and they shot down the tariffs, bro. At 10 a.m. today. And I ain't gonna lie, I was not expecting that. Because when you think about it, the tariffs, whether you have your opinion on them, how they are, if they're good or not, whatever the case may be, are they even right? Is the right thing to do? Whatever your opinion is, right? We use them as a sword. You feel me? We went to China. We went to Mexico. We went to Canada with a big AK-47 with a drum on it and say, yo, we're going to do a deal, right? And other countries are like, yeah, we're going to do a deal. We're going to do a deal, right? But now, that AK, it don't even got no bullets in it. The drum empty. It's not even shooting nothing. So now the big stick that we had and we was walking around with is gone, bro. So what does that leave the U.S. now as far as in the negotiations that we had with these other countries? More importantly, how do we pay back all the companies that took on all the brunt of the expenses of the tariffs and pass it on to the consumer? Because now we got the U.S. got to pay those companies back. They got to pay back the Amazons. They got to pay back the Nikes. They got to pay back all the retail stores and Lululemons. They got to pay back all these stores for all the expenses they fronted with the tariffs. And on top of that, what about the consumer? The consumer now done spent mad bread on the tariffs because it was passed down to them through the companies. What do they get? How do they become whole? You see what I'm saying? So with these tariffs getting shut down, it puts the country in a weird, and this administration, I should say, not the country, in a weird position, bro. Because there's a lot to figure out. And we're not even talking about Europe already. Europe already said, hey, yo, we're here to negotiate. Europe already said, oh, these tariffs got shot down. Oh, yeah, we need to renegotiate. What's going on? These other countries is going to be on back, bro. Okay? Now, the market rallied for this stuff. Because the market never loved tariffs in the first place. The market crashed because of tariffs. Not crashed. Corrected because of tariffs. All right? But I think short term, we're going to see a little rally. Long term, I don't know, bro. I see a lot of things adding up, bro. You telling me we got to figure out how the U.S. is going to pay back all these companies and how to make the consumer whole after these tariffs got put up. You're telling me also that retail sales are dying down in the hottest, and supposed to be the hottest time of the year. You're also telling me consumer sentiment is dropping. You're also telling me that GDP, we may face another government shutdown. You're also telling me, yo, there's a lot of headwinds that I'm kind of seeing brewing. And all together, I think it could be something, y'all. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just my humble opinion. I'm just a guy talking on the internet. Right? But if you add up 1 plus 1 and another 1, it turns into 3. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of headwinds right now. Okay? So that's what happened at 10. Boom. Supreme Court said, nah, done data. Tariffs finito, right? This man Trump, yo, this man's crazy, yo. This man said, oh yeah? Nah, 10% on the whole world. The man put up 10% tariffs back on the whole world. He announced it literally, like, I would say an hour and a half after the Supreme Court shot down the original tariffs. He enacted new global tariffs of 10% on the world, essentially, on everyone that had the tariffs previously. Okay? Now, can he do that? No, bro. I really don't know. And I don't know how that I don't know what that changes. You feel me? But after doing a little digging, all right, it looks like what he did was, boom, let me pull it up right here. President Trump announced a new 10% global tariff, this time invoking Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. So this Trade Act of 1974, Section 122, right? It allows for the import surcharges of up to 15% to address severe balance of payment deficits. But however, it's strictly a temporary tool. Okay? So this 10% that he's putting on the whole world, it looks like by law, it expires after 150 days unless Congress votes to extend it. All right? So it looks like allegedly what he did was legal. He enacted Section 122, which is pretty much up to 15% of tariffs on other countries for the next 150 days. But we really don't know, y'all. We really don't know. There's a lot happened today, and I expect a lot more conversations to be had. You feel me? But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And what do I think is going to happen in the market? It's a lot of stuff coming together, man. I don't know. If we think about the retail sales, we thinking about this tariff piece and paying back these American companies. We talk about, we're not even near the midterm times yet. The midterm's supposed to be historically bearish as well. A lot's coming up, y'all. You feel me? So what I would do if I'm y'all is I would keep buying the strong companies that you believe in. Either it's the Netflixes, either it's the Zetas, either it's the Palantirs, the Amazons, the Metas, the Microsofts, whatever the case may be. You keep buying those same companies because they at a discount now. You dollar cost average slowly but surely. And you ride the wave, man. You ride the wave because there's a lot of turbulence in the market. And I think short term we're going to see some green because the tariffs never liked the economy and the stock market never liked tariffs in the first place. But with all this data that came out this year, I'm fried. Today, there's a lot of things that got to happen, y'all. For me, but stay low, keep buying, dollar cost averaging. We'll be sturdy, y'all. It's your boy DWaugh. You got any questions? Let us know in the Discord. I'm out of here.